Hi everyone and welcome back to Dev Portal, your go-to channel for mastering Java concept. In our previous tutorial of Java Thread series, we have seen that how we can create a thread object using three approaches. First, by extending the thread class, second by implementing the runnable interface, and third by implementing the callable interface. Today we are going to understand the thread lifecycle in Java. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of a state a thread goes through from creation to termination and how to manage thread effectively in Java. So let's get started. So in Java, a thread goes through several states during its lifetime. The main states you can see in this screen I have written, that is new, then runnable, blocked, waiting, timed waiting and terminated. Let's explore all these states in detail with practical example for better understanding. We will start with the example of new state. When a thread is created but hasn't started yet, then it is considered under new state. This happens when we create a thread object but haven't called the start method. Let me show you with the help of an example. So what I'm going to do, first I will create a thread object and then I will print the state of a thread. So I will write thread and let me give this object a name, t1 is equal to new thread. So we have created the object and now if I try to get the state of this object, it will print new. Let me show you. So I will write sysout statement and here I will write t1 dot get state. So get state is a method that will return the current state of a thread. So let me execute this program. So you can see in the console it has printed new. With this, what we can understand that in this state a thread is just an object, it hasn't started yet. Now when a thread will start, so when we call the start method, the thread enter into the runnable state. That is one thing. And in this state, it is ready to run, but might not immediately start execution as it depends on the thread executor. Let me show you. So let me do one thing here. What I will do, just a small change I need to do. I will write t1 dot start. And now if I try to print this state, you can see it is runnable. But one thing you need to remember is that runnable doesn't mean that the thread is running. It is waiting for CPU to assign time for the execution. So now you might be wondering that when a thread will come under the running state. So when a thread scheduler pick a thread from a runnable state, it enter into the runnable state and this is where the thread execution take place. And in running state, the thread will execute the code which you have written inside the run method. So this is all about new and runnable. Now let's discuss about block and waiting. A thread enter into the block or waiting state when it is waiting for resource or another thread to complete its task. So now let's discuss that how a thread will come under block state. Suppose we have a shared resource and that shared resource will be accessed by all the threads. So suppose if one thread is accessing that resource at that particular point of time, other threads will go into the waiting state until and unless a shared resource will get free. Let me show you with the help of an example. What I will do, first I will create one class name as shared resource and I will create two thread object and those thread object will try to access that particular shared resource. So I will create first class, that is class shared resource. And inside this class what I will do, I will create one synchronized block. What synchronized block will do, it will allow only one thread to access that particular method at a time. So I will write public synchronized and return type will be void and let me give this a name, suppose access. And first let me print that this method is getting accessed by which thread. So for that let me add sysout statement and here I will write thread dot current thread dot get name so that I know which thread is executing this method and I will write is accessing. And after that what I will do, I will write one try catch block here and inside try I just add thread dot sleep and suppose the time I have written here, suppose 5 seconds. So for 5 seconds I will hold on this method and now I will create two thread object here. So first let me create object of this shared resource. So I will write shared resource equal to new shared resource. And now let me create two thread object, thread t1 is equal to new thread and here I will provide shared resource dot access and let me give this thread a name, suppose thread 1. Same way I will create another thread, thread 2 is equal to new thread, and here as well same thing we will do. It will try to access the resource that is a shared resource, and let me give this a name, thread 2. And now what I will do, I will start these threads. So I will write t1.start, and then I will write t2.start, and let me add thread.sleep, suppose for a second, so that thread 1 can access this shared resource, and let me throw the exception. And now what I will do, I will try to print the state of a thread 2 object, system.out.println, and here I will print t2.getState. So that's it. Now let's execute this method. So you can see thread 1 is accessing, and you can see for thread 2 it is blocked. So let me add here one more line, that is thread 2 state. So let me execute this method again. So you can see thread 1 is accessing, then thread 2 state is blocked, and after that what it will do, once the execution is completed, it will print thread 2 is accessing. You can see it here. And let me add println so that you can see next line. Let me rerun this method. So thread 1 is accessing, then thread 2 is blocked until 5 seconds is completed, and then thread 2 is accessing. So this is how a thread will go under the block state when a shared resource is accessed by both of the threads. One thread already occupied that resource, and until that resource is not free, other threads who are trying to access that resource will be in blocked state. So this was the example of blocked state. Now let's see that how a thread will come under waiting state. So I need to remove the code again. So first let me remove this code, and here what I will do, I will create again one thread object, that is thread t1 is equal to new thread, and here I will use lambda expression, and what I will do, I will create one synchronized block here, and here I will write thread dot current thread, and first let me add try catch block, and inside this try block first let me add sysout statement that a thread is in waiting state, and after that I will call thread dot current thread dot wait method, so that this thread will go under the waiting state, and then I will add one more sysout statement, and I will write thread is resuming its work. So that's it. And now what we need to do, we need to call, or we need to start this thread t1 dot start, and after that let me print the state of this thread, that is t1 dot get state, and let me add text as well, suppose it is thread state. So that's it. Let me run this method again, and now you can see, okay, it is in runnable state. What I will do, I will keep thread.sleep suppose for 2 seconds, so that it will go under waiting state. So as you can see here, it is printing thread is in waiting state from line number 13. It has picked this statement, and after that it is printing the current state of a thread that is written at line number 26, that is waiting. And t1, the object which we have created, will be in waiting state until we call the notify method. As you can see, my program is still not terminated. It is showing that I can terminate manually. So now what we are going to do, we will call the notify method so that this thread will go from waiting state to runnable state again. So let me show you how we can do that. So first what I will do, I will write one synchronized block again, and here I will write t1, and what I will do, I will call t1.notify. What notify will do, it will tell t1 that okay, now you can resume your work. So after that what I will do, I will print the state of a thread again, sysout, or not from here, what I can do, I will print the state here itself. So I will write sysout, and here I will write thread dot thread dot current thread dot get state, so that you know once it got resumed what state it is printing. So let me execute this method again, and now you can see thread is in waiting state, then it has written thread state is waiting, and then runnable, which is picked from this line number 16. Let me add here as well line 16, and what I can do, I can add one more thing here, thread dot sleep. Thread dot sleep, suppose I have sleep for a second. So let me execute this method again, and I think some error is there. Okay, so here I need to add plus. So now it's fine. Let me rerun this method, and now you can see thread is in waiting state, then thread state is waiting, then runnable, it has wait for a second, and then thread is in resume, thread is resuming its work. So this is how a thread will go into the waiting state. Now let me show you the next state, that is timed waiting, that when a thread will go into the timed waiting state. So let me remove this code again. So, or rather than removing this code, what I can do, I can remove this line, and here I can print the current state, not here. Here I will do one thing, that is thread dot sleep, thread dot sleep, suppose for 5 seconds, and below I will print current state of a thread. So let me save and execute this code, and now you can see it is saying timed waiting. So here what happened, a thread has entered into the timed waiting state when it has to wait for a fixed time using method like thread.sleep or thread.join. So in that case it will go into the time waiting state, because it knows that we have mentioned that how much time it has to go into the waiting state, and thread will automatically move out from time waiting state once the time is expired. So let me show you that as well. So what I can do, after thread.sleep I can print the current state. So I will write sysout statement, and I will write current state is, and here I will write thread dot current thread dot get state, and it will show runnable. So let me run this code, and now you can see timed waiting it is printing, and after 5 seconds it will print runnable. See, so that is how we can understand. First it will go into the time waiting state, then once the time is expired it will come under the runnable state again, it will do its execution, and then finally it will get terminated. So now let me show you the example for terminated as well. What I can do, so here it is waiting for 5 seconds, and after that what I can do it here, thread dot sleep, I will add suppose 6 seconds. So total it is waiting for 11 seconds, and after 11 seconds I will print the state again. So sysout, and I will see, let's check the current state now, and I will write t1 dot get state. So what will happen, first it will wait for second, then it will wait for 5 seconds, and then again it will wait for 6 seconds, and then we will see terminated. So first it will go into the timed waiting, then runnable, and then again terminated. And if I print the state here as well, it will print new. Let me show you that as well. So I will write state of a thread. So let me write colon and then plus, I will write t1 dot get state. So this will show new. After that, once we start our execution, it will show runnable. So I need to write it here before start. It will show new, then it will be the second state. And now let me run this code again. So you can say new, then second state is runnable, then it went for timed waiting due to this sleep thread.sleep for 5 seconds, and then again we have waited for 6 seconds, and then it is showing terminated. Before that it has shown runnable because time got expired and we have added current state as well, so it will went from timed waiting to runnable. So here what happened, first new state come, then runnable state come, then thread went to timed waiting state, then again runnable, and then finally terminated. And thread will go into the terminated state once it's complete all its execution, or you can say all its task. So let's visualize that how a thread will go into the different state. It will start with the new state and then it will go into the runnable state when we call start method that we have seen just now. And it will go from runnable to running state when a thread scheduler picks the thread. And from running it will go into the blocked or waiting state when waiting for resources or some condition. And then from running to terminated it will go when execution finish of a thread or it is stopped. So this life cycle helps you to understand how thread interact with the CPU and system resources. Now let's understand some of the best practices while working with the thread. So first is that we should avoid unnecessary synchronization to prevent blocked state and use high-level concurrency utilities like executor service I shown you in the previous tutorial to manage threads, and always handle interrupted exception to avoid unexpected behavior, and avoid restarting terminated thread because it is not allowed in Java. And always use join to ensure thread complete before the main thread continues. So to summarize, threads go through states like new, runnable, running, blocked, waiting, timed waiting, and terminated. Each state serves a purpose in managing thread execution. Proper management of thread lifecycle ensure effective and bug-free multithreading in Java. So that's it for today's video in Dev Portal. If you found this video helpful, please like, share and subscribe to Dev Portal. Drop your questions or suggestion in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video where we will explore thread synchronization in detail. So till then, happy coding.